So my name's Aimee. I am talking to you because I work in heritage and museums. A little bit of background, how did I start working in museums? So when I was a kid, my favourite place to visit was this museum, and it is Bliss Hill, Victorian Town. And it is fabulous. And I loved it because you could go in, it was really immersive. I got to see people all dressed up as Victorians, and they had a fabulous fish and chip shop, and they also had a sweet shop. So I was having the best time. But apart from that, and the fact that I have always loved history, I didn't really think that there would be a job for me. And in fact, I didn't even want to work in history when I started off. When I was your age, I actually wanted to be a singer. That's me. I wanted to be a singer or a musician. And I also, if that didn't work out, I wanted to be a teacher. So I talked about this a little bit earlier. I was diagnosed actually when I was quite old, when I was about 18, with something called dyslexia, which I've always found is one of the disabilities that, as it's a learning disability and it's really, I find it difficult to spell. I don't know why they've spelt it dyslexia. It's really, really hard. So if you don't know what dyslexia is, it's a learning difficulty which affects kind of how I process language and information that I see and I hear. Lots of people associate dyslexia with spelling and kind of reading difficulties and writing difficulties, but there's actually a massive amount to dyslexia that you don't really see that goes on under the surface. We call it a dyslexia iceberg, and I love it. It's brilliant. So for example, I actually am quite good at reading. I don't mind reading. I do struggle with spelling, but I'm not as difficult as it used to be. And with writing, I don't think I'm that bad. I do need you to proofread things though. I get my I's and my E's mixed up, or words difficulty. But there are things that go on underneath the surface, and there are things like when I'm talking, sometimes I can think of a word and I know what that word is, but the word just won't come out. So it's a lot to do with how I process that language. So there's a lot going on. And it's also kind of how I interpret information as well. There is a fabulous video, which I have linked in this PowerPoint, but we won't watch it because it's about 5 minutes, on the Dyslexia Society, which I highly recommend teachers, if you want to learn more, or kids, please do have a look at. So I'll do very, very quickly on, I find dyslexia, I don't see it as a disability, it's just part of who I am. I was diagnosed when I was really little with an eyesight disability, so people thought I was spelling and reading because of that. But when I was an adult, they realised that there might be something else going on. And when I was 18, got diagnosed with mild to moderate dyslexia. And it does affect me, and I do notice that when I'm in meetings or I've got lots of information being thrown at me, I really, really struggle to take it in and to process it. And when I was younger, I also used to feel like, oh, I'm not good at anything. I'm not getting this as quickly as everybody else. And I know that some people that have dyslexia that might be your age, if you do, you might feel that. And I can promise you, you're not stupid. You're not slower than everybody else. You are just interpreting it in a different way. And sometimes you just need a little bit of time. So how this affects me in my job is if I have to write something, I need a little bit more time to write it. I get you to proofread it, to check it. Also, top tip, I also use the read aloud on Word or on emails, and that is a lifesaver because sometimes I can't see a mistake, but I can hear it. That's just a little thing for me. I did a little list of how it affects me and everything. A real big thing for me in everyday life is I'm horrendous with directions. I get my lefts and rights mixed up. I can't follow maps. So quite often I like knowing where I'm going. If I don't, I quite often have to follow somebody else. But yeah. There is positives to dyslexia, and I see it as a real big strength because I see things in a different way. I can also come up with different solutions, and I think of things really, really creatively, and I can come up with like really weird creative ideas and figure out how to make them work. That's like you have weird ideas.
Yeah, Aimee is so good at really thinking outside the box and thinking of things that I would never think of. So I really think that's a really big strength that Aimee has.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Nice. And we were talking earlier about what it's like to work with somebody with dyslexia, and you were saying, to be honest, you don't really notice it.
Yeah,
it's just
I don't
am.
notice. Yeah, the only thing is if I know Aimee's got a lot going on, I make sure that I give her time and space just to process it all, and then we can always talk about it when she's ready to. So that's a really important thing to do.
Yeah, there we go. That's a lot of spiel going on. I'm going to stop talking because I'm sure, I hope people have questions for us. So I'm going to hand back over to Jo.